November 12th, 1993, McNichol Sports Arena, Denver, Colorado, UFC 1. Opens with a commentator saying that 8 of the deadliest fighters in the world will compete in no-holds-barred combat, which means no rules, no scores, and no time limits. There are unlimited 5-minute rounds tonight, but as though that matters. We go to the arena where Bill Wallace is on commentary, who hiccups after his first words.
I'm Bill Wallace, and welcome to McNichol's Arena. McNichol's Arena.
He then introduces NFL Hall of Famer Jim Brown, who's accompanied by Jim Brown's hat. I don't know what he has to do with no-holds-barred fighting, but we shall see. Kathy Long is in the DC spot tonight, and Rod Machado is playing the role of Megan O'Leary. He says that his strategy would be to get out of there as quickly as possible before saying that grapplers will likely have an advantage over the strikers. We'll see how that plays out. We move to the Octagon, where Brian Kilmeade details the Octagon, telling us what people to expect tonight. But now the time has come for the first fight, Gerard Jordeau versus Taylor Tully, Savat versus Sumo. They're pretty keen to push everybody's individual martial art, I'd assume, to get away from the human cockfighting allegations that would come in later years, but I believe the foundations for those claims were laid here. Tully and Gerard come out, and Gerard has some interesting gestures that, at least here in the UK, would land you in jail. And Rich Goins is going to be our Bruce Buffer for the evening. And as we can see here, 2 athletes in their prime, and look, you've seen this one before. First fight out, Tully decides to run straight at Gerard, falls over, soccer kicked right in the face, and then right hooked for good measure. The referee jumps in, separates them, asks to see the doctor, and then calls off the fight after seeing Tully is fucked up and has blood running out of his eye, to audible booing from the audience and confusion as to why the referee separated the fight. So next we have Zane Frazier against Kevin Rozier, described as adept kickboxers. Even though Frazier is a karate practitioner, Kevin Rozier wants that overhand right. We'll see if he can get it, and Zane Frazier says he thinks that God will make him win. Kevin Rozier looks nervous as fuck, but then Wallace actually makes a good point of why are they having a summit in the Octagon when there are no rules to discuss. So Rozier is actually able to uncork that overhand right, and he drops Frazier, who then gets back up and then knees him right in the dick. The referee does nothing, and it's actually here that I wonder, like, does no rules actually mean no rules? Because what is stopping anyone from just dick kicking and eye gouging their way to win every single fight? So a couple minutes into the fight and these guys are gassed. They're still swinging, but they have absolutely zero cardio. Frazier here has the OG Max Holloway point down before he throws nothing and retreats to the back of the cage, accepts his beating from Rozier, who finishes him with stomps in the corner as his team throws in the towel. They interview Rozier after the fight, who can barely speak, and he ponders why he came out of retirement, while Wallace on commentary says that Rozier is great at taking punishment. We'll see if that helps him in the next round against Gerard Jordeau. Onward we move to Royce Gracie in the gi versus Art Jimerson, who has one hand taped and one hand in a fucking boxing glove. Jesus Christ. And now on top of this cursed visual, we now have the referee from the first fight who doesn't know what's going on, and he's still allowed back to ref this next fight. Anyway, Royce takes down Jimerson because obviously he does. Gracie's wearing a gi, but it's not as though it matters because Art can't grab it because he's wearing a fucking boxing glove, so he can't use it to his advantage. And I swear to God, before I could even say that, Art Jimerson literally taps out without even a submission being put on him. I can't even speak. The referee still doesn't know what the rules are, so there's even more confusion between the fighters, the commentary, and the fans, as Art Jimerson's corner throws in the towel and somehow performs worse than Taylor Tully did earlier in the night. Art doesn't even seem to care as they hug after the fight, and this very much feels as though the fix is in. They then show this other angle, which you can clearly see nothing is happening. He just taps. He just accepts the show money, possibly some other money, and then leaves. Next is Shamrock versus Patrick Smith. Commentators say this is going to be the fight of the night. Smith is the hometown boy with an alleged 250-0 record. He describes himself as the most strongest, so can he use his strength to his advantage? Nope. Shamrock instantly takes him down, sits in guard for a minute before submitting him with a heel hook. In the first semi-final, we have Gerard Jordeau versus Kevin Rozier. Gerard comes out and thankfully left the salutes in the back, and out waddles Kevin Rozier, but the camera pans to Jordeau's hand, which is clearly broke, but he's still able to fight. They shake hands and the fight starts. Anyway, almost instantly Rozier curls up in a ball like Anthony Smith and gets stomped out by Jordeau. He then taps and his corner throws in the towel. He then gets up, but this time he's not out of breath and challenges any kickboxing federation to give him a super heavyweight title fight, seeing as now he's out of retirement, and I sure hope he got it. So the second semi-final is Gracie versus Shamrock, the two biggest names in the tournament. Gracie shoots on Shamrock. We have a scramble before Shamrock ends up in Gracie's guard. Gracie then just starts spamming kidney shots with his heel. Royce ends up on top and finds the rear naked choke and Shamrock taps. Now, Royce knows that he tapped. Shamrock knows that he tapped, so they both sit there looking at the ref who has no idea what he's watching. And he then starts asking Royce, did he tap? Before then asking Shamrock, did you tap? Royce ends up talking to Shamrock as though like, you better tell this guy that you tapped out, but the referee then stops the fight, the two shake hands. But Jesus Christ, how does nobody know the rules of their own tournament? These referees are clueless, which then makes the commentators unsure of what's happening. And then when the commentators don't know what's happening and the referees don't know what's happening, how are the fans of this like new sport meant to know the rules and actually know what to look out for? It just doesn't make any sense. So Jorge and Gracie is now in the octagon to present an award to Helio Gracie, who thanks the crowd and does all the general acceptance speech bingo. But now, thankfully, we are at the end. Jordeau with a broken hand against Royce Gracie. Wallace on commentary is now saying that Gerard may be facing a serious infection after he cut his foot on Taylor Tully's tooth in the first round. This means that in that first fight, Gerard threw 2 strikes, breaking his hand with one and cutting his foot with the other, which Wallace now says needs serious medical attention. Gracie gets Gerard against the fence, he gets the trip, he gets the back of Gerard, he then starts grabbing his broken hand. He's able to get the choke and Gerard taps. Gracie sees the tap and doesn't let go. Gerard is now tapping for his life before the referee then steps in, and Royce Gracie is your winner. He is the Ultimate Fighting Champion and wins $50,000. So Gracie then runs through acceptance speech bingo and he says that he's taking the $50,000 to Disneyland. And with that, this clusterfuck has come to an end. Now, I'm not willing to say that this whole event was fixed for Royce to win. I do find the Art Jemison matchup very convenient, and I do find the Shamrock debacle confusing, and then the finals against Jordeau, who has a broken hand. So I don't know if I would call this a rigged event, but I would call this a complete fucking mess. Now, I know that a few of these guys will be back for UFC 2. Thankfully, the referees won't. But if you want to find out how UFC 2 takes this from bad to worse, like and subscribe, and I'll see y'all next time.